first. We start. Good afternoon. Welcome to the press conference following the Foreign Affairs Council, the first chaired by the High Representative Kaja Kallas. The High Representative will brief you on today's discussions with the ministers, and then we will move on to your questions. High Representative, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and I'm happy to be here. It's my first Foreign Affairs Council, and I can tell you it's different than the European Council. It was the first, so we can always do better. We had many issues on agenda. Key items were Syria's transition, Ukraine, and Georgia. So I have updates on all three. First on Syria. I debriefed the ministers of my visit to Jordan, where I met with the Arab leaders as well as Turkey and United States to discuss the basic principles that we all agree for the engagement with the new leadership of Syria and how we engage in that respect. I announced earlier today that our top diplomat will go to Damascus, and he has been there now. So it is not the special envoy, but our head of delegation that is currently stationed in Beirut that went to Damascus and had some high-level or had some meetings there. The aim is to be in contact with the country's new authorities and to convey the messages to the group about how they also intend to govern so that we understand all this. And there are basic principles that everybody agreed with the Arab countries, the neighboring countries, Turkey and United States and the European Union as well. These are principles of territorial integrity, sovereignty, accountability, but also inclusiveness of government, taking into account especially the minorities and women's rights in this case. This process has to be Syria-led and Syria-owned and reflect the Syrian people in all of its diversity. This is very, very important. Extremism, Russia and Iran also should not have a place in Syria's future. In parallel, of course, the European Union remains the biggest humanitarian aid donor to the Syrian people, and since Assad's fall, we opened an air bridge for 100 tons of humanitarian aid to support health, education, and shelter. And going forward, I can announce that we will be organizing the 9th Brussels Syria conference that is meant to be a fundraising conference here in Brussels. And we stand with the Syrian people throughout this transition, as we did when it was Assad's brutal rule. We also discussed broader developments in the Middle East. On Gaza, ministers reiterated the need for ceasefire, the release of hostages and delivery of sufficient and unimpeded humanitarian aid. And as we also need to have a dialogue to push for that and a two-state solution, so I proposed to have an association council with Israel, and that was also supported by the ministers. And then also after that, first high-level dialogue with the Palestinian Authority soon. The second big topic was Ukraine. Today we continued our push to limit Russia's ability to wage a war. First, we adopted the 15th sanctions package against Russia. This round targets the Shadow Fleet, North Korean officials, and for the first time also Chinese firms making drones for Moscow. Our message is very clear. You cannot fuel a war in Europe and get away with it. At the same time, Ukraine needs our support in the battlefield. The stronger they are on the battlefield, the stronger they are also behind the negotiation table. Not just to hold on, but to tilt the balance to their favor. because Putin will not stop unless he's stopped. And I think what the fall of Assad's regime also showed is that Russia is weakened, and you cannot put your bets on Putin. He does not support you when you need him. We must support Ukraine militarily. By end of winter, the European Union will have trained 75,000 Ukrainian troops. And this month, the European Union provided Ukraine 4.2 billion support to its budget. And from January, we will be providing 1.5 billion per month. But more support is needed, as Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha told us when he joined us by video. It's a very difficult situation for Ukraine on the battlefield. We all heard him loud and clear. Ukraine needs more ammunition, stronger air defenses, and more support for its own defense industry as well. And we must give Ukraine what it needs to win this war. Third topic was Georgia. The situation is not going to positive direction for the Georgian people. Democracies do not oppress opposition voices or curtail the freedom of media. In response, we have downgraded political contacts and cut funding for the Georgian government. Today, we agreed the need to halt the visa-free regime for diplomatic passport holders, and Commission will make a proposal already this year. And we also discussed the sanctioning of these Georgian officials who are behind the violence against peaceful protesters. Going forward, we will continue to stand with the Georgian people, and including by redirecting funding from the authorities towards the civil society and Georgian people, independent media. Because the future of Georgia, as it is in Syria for Syrians, is for people of Georgia to decide what the future can be. So thank you, and ready to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. Thomas, as a general rule, please introduce yourself and the media outlet you're working for.
Thanks a lot. Thomas Kutschka, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. I'm sitting here.
Thanks.
Yeah, normally we used to have these stand-up mics and would stand up as well, but I hope that's all right like this. Two questions, please. The first one on Syria. The Dutch foreign minister said this morning that a condition to be put upon the new Syrian leadership should be that they abolish the Russian military bases in Syria. Do you agree with that proposition? Has it been discussed today? And the second question is related to China. At the previous meeting, which was still chaired by Josep Borrell, a big discussion was about the production, or let's say the development and potential production of a military drone for Russia in China. At that time, several member states said they found the intelligence provided conclusive, but apparently that was not the opinion of your predecessor. So my question to you is, how do you view this, and are you going to initiate action against the relevant actors? Thank you.
Thank you. First on Syria, Russia's presence. This was discussed, and many foreign ministers took this up to say that, you know, it should be a condition for the new leadership that they also get rid of the Russian influence there, because it is a base where they also conduct their activities towards Africa and the southern neighbors. So this is definitely of the worry of European security as well. So we will raise this issue with the leadership when we have the meetings. I mean, on different levels. This was brought up by different ministers, that it should be something that we definitely also ask. But coming from Jordan, I must say that this was also discussed around this table with the Arab leaders, and it's also their worry that they don't need and they don't want the Russian influence there. So I think this is also something where we can cooperate and see what we can do together. What comes to China, first we have the sanctions on Chinese companies in the 15th package. So it clearly signals that it has a cost. I mean, helping Russia in this war has also cost for China. And we have to be very clear in this, because we should not make this mistake that we have done with Russia, to really be strong here and show our unity in this regard, because when we were in Ukraine, they were also telling about the satellites that are provided for the killer drones, for example, that are provided by Chinese. I haven't checked whether it's true, but this is what the Ukrainians are saying. So I think we need to work with that to be very clear that having this role in the war, or helping to wage the war, has a price for those who are helping this.
Follow up, quick, please.
Sure, I understand that. But the sanctions published today are not related to the case that was discussed at the last meeting. So that's why I would like to ask you again. Are you convinced of the evidence provided, and will you take action?
Well, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I can't comment on the last meeting, but these are the steps that we are taking currently. And of course, we are looking into whatever the Chinese are doing, or the Chinese companies are doing, whether we can, implement sanctions on this. And also, I mean, the circumvention of sanctions is another topic.
Nuruddin, next.
Nordin Fridi from Al Arabiya News Channel. Madam High Representative, Syria is de facto an occupied country. It has a very complex situation inside Syria between the Syrians, multi-ethnic, multi-religion country. My general question, how the European Union is going to navigate the Syrian complexities? And if you don't mind, a more specific question on sanction. Have you discussed that? There are some sectors like banks, transport, energy are vital to the Syrian day lives. How do you see these sanctions, or could be at least sectorally lifted in the time? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with you. It's a complex country, and that's why we need to work with the regional actors, the Arab countries, the neighboring countries, with having a unified approach here to address all these worries that are there. What comes to European Union, then I think we should avoid mistakes what we have maybe done before, not to leave a vacuum. I think we also need to be present there, because if we are the ones also to help with the reconstruction, we also need to be the ones who are around the table, with whom the regional actors also discuss the conditions, like it was on Saturday in Jordan. Now, what comes to sanctions, then the question I put forward today for the foreign ministers, not to decide today, but to start work on this, is whether we are ready to adopt our sanctions policy when we see positive steps, not the words, but actual steps and deeds from the new leadership of Syria. And why I say we need to start work on this right now, because we all know we are 27 democracies and this takes time, but we need to have the plan ready. When we see the steps, then we also are ready to act positively in this regard to help the development of Syria as well.
Sunniva.
Sunniva Rose from The National. I have a question on minorities. You mentioned several times it was very important for minorities to be respected by HTS. I wanted to understand better. Do you mean that you want political representation in a manner that is maybe similar to Lebanon, but which may cause paralysis, nepotism, government collapse, as we've seen when X number of ministers have to be from X, religious group? Or do you mean minorities' rights need to be protected? They must be allowed to exercise their civil rights. It would be interesting to understand which side you mean. Thank you.
Yes. Well, as it was mentioned, Syria is a very diverse country, and it has several groups. When we see right now the steps, they are the leadership is only from one region, and that's why it doesn't really represent the whole of Syrian people. But the discussions so far, what we agreed or discussed around that table was that we need to see the process that takes into account all the minorities, that no minorities are persecuted, that there is no revenge, no retaliation, that it doesn't go to another direction, that there is no civil war between different groups. So this is the point where we are right now. Of course, the regional actors were also talking about the inclusive government, and I think they have more tools to push this as well. For us, it is important that the minorities and the rights of minorities are protected. It also means freedom of religion and exercise of religion. It definitely means also the women's rights that we are looking into, that it goes to the right direction.
Georgia.
Tamara Nutsubidze, independent journalist. If it's possible, can you tell us which kind of measures will be taken now from Commission regarding to visa-free suspension for diplomatic passport owners? Also, can we expect some next steps regarding to Georgia, or it depends which kind of situation will be in the country? And last question, I saw the agenda of EUCO, and Georgia also mentioned there. So there will be just discussion about situation in Georgia, or can we expect also some kind of steps from the heads of states? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. First, I worked so hard on this Foreign Affairs Council. I mean, in the EUCO, I'm not the one leading this, but I mean, I will look into this, how the discussions will go there. What we had today and the discussions with the Commission is to suspend the visa-free regime for diplomatic passports and service passports. I must say that there was very intense discussion, and there was also a lot of will to do more. So many said that, let's also see how the developments are, and we are ready to take additional steps. But, with sanctions, we need 27 on board. So therefore, we are unfortunately not there. But I think this visa-free regime and suspension is a first step, and it's also, symbolic.
We're taking the last two questions. So Lydia on Reuters.
Thank you. Andrew Gray from Reuters. Back to Syria, High Representative. In 2020, the EU condemned what it called the systematic practice by the HTS of unlawfully detaining, torturing and murdering civilians living in areas under its control, acts which the EU said may amount to war crimes or crimes against humanity, and it also mentioned the recruitment and use of children in its forces. Does those conclusions still apply? Is that the view of the European Union about HTS today, and should it have any bearing on how the EU deals with that group now that it's in charge of Syria?
Yeah, well, these are the worries not only for the European Union but also for the regional actors, and that's why we all said that we want to see no extremism, no radicalization, and it going to the right direction. Because right now they are saying the right things, but everybody is not convinced that they do the right things. I just want to reflect the discussion that we had. What everybody wants is to avoid the mistakes with Libya and Afghanistan, similar things, where, there was a vacuum left. And therefore, we know the troubles with those countries. So when I say that Syria has, hopeful but uncertain future, is that we need to see that these steps go to the right direction, because everybody wants stability in Syria. Everybody wants, all these groups to live there peacefully, so that also the refugees can return to Syria, and there is a stable country in the region. Whether it will be like this, a lot of doubts about that, but we need to work for that to happen and help. Because the region is extremely complicated, and that's why I also think that it's very important to work with the regional actors, that everybody is on board, delivering the same messages to the leadership of Syria now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Last one, Jorge.
Hello, High Representative Jorge Liboreiro with Euronews. 2 questions. On Georgia, we know that Hungary and Slovakia opposed their proposal for sanctions. What's your assessment of this situation? Is your first Hungarian veto of your mandate? Are you willing to try sanctions again? And second, on Syria, you said that you sent a senior diplomat to Damascus to make contact with HTS. Are you willing to personally engage with HTS and Mr. al-Shara from now on? Do you think the engagement can reach that level, that official level? Thank you.
It's my first Hungarian veto, but I can guarantee it's not the last. But no, I'm still, optimist. So I've worked intensely with Hungarian colleagues, and I will intend to work with them in the future as well. So and not only me, I think the others as well, and proposing also different solutions to overcome. But we achieved a lot. This Foreign Affairs Council, for the first one, we got the Association Council coming. We have the visa free regime suspended, so we still, accomplished something, but not 100%. That is clear. So we will need to work on that. What comes to the HTS and the engagement, we are not there yet. So today we discussed the level of engagement with the ministers, and everybody agreed that it should be lower level right now, in order to see whether it goes to the right direction. And therefore, the ambassador that we have in Syria, currently based in Beirut, went there. And of course, there are different levels of engagement, but we need to see in the coming weeks, in the coming months, that we need to see positive action as well, not only words, but also deeds.
Thank you very much. This concludes our press conference. Thank you very much, High Representative.
Thank you.
A good evening.